This episode is brought to you by iRestore, the clinically proven, game-changing hair growth device that's here to help you turn back the clock on hair loss. For a limited time only, check out their huge Black Friday sale. Our listeners get hundreds of dollars off their iRestore Elite with our exclusive link at irestorelaser.com/random. That's hundreds off the iRestore Elite, irestorelaser.com/random. Hair loss is frustrating. You don't have to fight it alone thanks to iRestore. Super Beets Heart Chews offer a convenient, delicious, plant-based way to support healthy blood pressure and circulation. And because it's natural, there are no stimulants and no jittery feeling. Get a free 30-day supply of Super Beets Heart Chews on all bundles and 15% off your first order by going to getsuperbeets.com and using code RANDOM. That's getsuperbeets.com, code RANDOM. If you're making payments every month on your debt and your balances aren't going down, PDS has solutions for you. Everyone with $10,000 or more in eligible debt qualifies, and there is no minimum credit score required. Get a free debt analysis right now at pdsdebt.com/random. It only takes 30 seconds. That's pdsdebt.com/random. pdsdebt.com/random.
And by the way, I love your movie. I do. You know I love that movie.
I know because you called me.
Club Random.
Bill, you just stated the premise of my movie.
Everything
changes.
Club Random.
Robert, there you are.
Bill, please call me Bob. How are you?
If I have to.
You don't have to. You can call me. If you don't want
No,
to,
I'm
you can call me Robert.
You ever see that book on the name Bob, all the Bobs in the world?
No,
Somebody
never
put out
did.
like Bob Newhart, Bob Dylan. There was just something they found commonality because it's a very common name. In case you never got my book,
I did, but you will sign one for me, please. Thank you.
Hollywood royalty for a reason.
Oh God, I love that. Thank you. This means a lot. Thank you. It's great. It's great, by the way. I'm glad you did this. It's fantastic.
And I certainly mean that. Inscription.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, it's undeniable. If you just go down the list of all the big ones. I mean, my friend and I were talking the other day. We're driving back from the airport and songs come on the radio. And we were saying like how tough it must be to be a one-hit wonder. Like there's lots of one-hit wonders in music. You do it once and it's like the greatest 6 months of your life. You got a number one hit, you're on the top of the charts, and it never happens again. That happens a lot in music. I guess in your business too, but you don't think, but you know, to have like the number of biggies that you've had is not a lot of people in that company.
You know what the closest to this is back in the day, the Charlie Rose show.
Oh, well, but that's TV, yes.
Right, but all the cameras were remote control.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, you were in that black void.
I did it, I remember.
And there was nobody there. Those cameras were all operated on servos. And you couldn't see anybody, and it was just a table,
Right.
yeah.
That's how he ran his personal life, too. You couldn't see anybody, which is why he came out in a bathrobe.
Exactly.
It's amazing the way the number of guys in that first Me Too wave, you know, like around our age, who were just doing things that I just wanted to go, you know, it's not all of us.
Yeah.
Ugh, like, don't you just hate yourself that this is how you get laid? I mean, everybody's got a way to get laid. Cops pull you over. I mean, everybody's got a scam.
Right.
But it's just how elegant they are.
Yeah.
And this was like the least elegant. I emerge from my bedroom in a robe. Like the 28-year-old's going to go, oh, my dream has come true.
Exactly.
I get to see Charlie Rose naked. Thank you, Jesus.
Exactly. I hear you. No, I know.
I mean, you must have seen some shit on movie sets.
I had this. Well, Actually,
no,
actually,
I'm getting nervous now.
No. There was one time where nothing could happen, but it was like it was a scene in Forrest Gump where Robin is in the dorm room with Tom, right? I'm sure you remember that.
Yeah.
And my Joanna Johnston, my longtime costume designer, she's very English, very proper, and she kept coming up to me with showing me what if I approved what she was going to be wearing as her underwear. It was all this period stuff, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, "This looks like something a grandmother would wear. This doesn't. I don't. And she kept showing me the stuff. I said, and I finally got upset and I said, you know what? Get a model who has the same dimensions, same body as Robin, and put the stuff on her and take a picture so I can see what it's going to look like." So a day later, I hear, Joanna says, or the AD comes and says, "Joanna wants to see you in your trailer." So I go on my trailer and there's this model with a robe on in my trailer, and Joanna's there, and she says, "Well, show him the underwear." So she opens up her robe. I said, "That looks great." And then the model said, "You want me to take them off?"
Really?
Yeah. I'm looking at Joanna. I'm saying, "No, that's okay."
I wasn't even asking about you. I just meant that you're in show business. If you're in show business, I'm in it too. You're going to be around some sleazy people at some point.
I guess,
especially in the music industry.
Yeah,
Not always.
I always found that the ones that were the most talented were not the sleaziest. I mean, obviously there were, but
Michael Jackson was very talented, and he was fucking little boys.
That's true. That's true.
No,
That's
it's true. It's hard to. I know what you mean. Like the bigger they are, the nicer they are. That's often true. It takes all kinds. I mean, I've never thought you could like pigeonhole show business people. It's a spectrum. Are they smart? Some are brilliant,
right,
and many are not.
Mm-hmm.
Same as humanity. Are they good? Some are awesome.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I don't think we'd want it any other way. We want to recruit from the full panoply of the human race, right?
I think you're probably right. Yeah, absolutely. And everybody's flawed. And everybody,
I don't know what your casting process is, but I'm sure they once asked John Huston what's his secret to directing. Do you remember that?
Oh.
And he said, I do most of my directing in the casting process. Which means,
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
I know what it means.
I know what it means, but I know what but you could look at it. I guess you could think of it two ways, because it's like, it's the old adage. What makes a good movie? Good writing and good casting. So we might have been alluding to that.
Well, I think look, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a movie maker like you are, but just as a fan, I know there's so many things that can go wrong in a movie. I mean, there's so many elements.
Right.
You can have good writing and good casting, and it could get fucked up by half a dozen other things.
Oh, yeah.
Editing and, timing and lots of stuff. But I think what he meant by that was, if Humphrey Bogart is on my team and I write his name in the lineup card, we got a good chance to win this game.
That's exactly right. I agree.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. He's getting guys up there who are gonna show up.
I mean, you use obviously some of the same people because as most directors do, you work with somebody, you have a good time, they fulfill your vision, and you're like, you just solved my biggest problem in this next project. Right?
And it's like a shorthand. I mean, I made a bunch of movies with Tom Hanks.
Right.
And he says, "I can hear in your voice when you say cut that we're doing another take." So it's kind of like that shorthand has gotten to that. He knows exactly what I'm thinking.
He knows when you're not quite satisfied?
Yeah, just from the way he hears me say the word cut. That's what he claims anyway. But that's the great thing. I mean, I've made I can't, over 20 movies with Alan Silvestri, my composer. And it's just great having a shorthand where you kind of finish each other's sentences.
Of course.
And when people are delivering and you can
Yeah.
have that shorthand, it's great. But I've been very fortunate. I've worked with, some of the absolute greatest actors that, of our
Well, and
generation.
they would say the same about you. I mean, the people in any industry, but we know in ours, they want to, you're not doing them any favors. They want to work with someone who's going to make them successful too, who's going to provide the material, provide the direction. I'm sure you're friends with a lot of these people, but maybe they'll do one movie for you out of friendship, but that's it. Like they want to work on what they want to work on,
Yeah.
But, you come to them with good stuff. I mean, if especially like Tom Hanks, was Forrest Gump the first one you did with him?
That was the first one.
Okay,
yeah.
but then
Right.
Castaway, how many years later was that?
Castaway was like 4 years later, and then we did the Polar Express.
I never get tired of that plane going down.
In Castaway.
I mean, the whole movie's great, but that is, I don't feel like I'd ever seen that quite on camera. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that's super actiony and CGI and all that kind of stuff. It's stuff that would never really happen to me. I mean, I'm not worried about some monster shooting rays out of the end of his fingers at me.
Right, of course, right.
But a plane crash, I mean, it's very gripping because you could be exactly in that scenario.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what it would look like.
Yeah, and I think the trick, and I think the thing that makes it the most terrifying, and it was a decision that I made, early on, was you only see any of it from Tom's point of view. So we never cut to what the pilots are seeing. We never cut to outside the plane, God's point of view. It's the whole plane crash happens just from his
Well, until
vision.
it hits the water, then we see.
Well,
we saw the plane, all the shit in the water when the plane hits the water.
No, he's
No?
there. No, you see it only from him. So it's like he comes up on that raft, and then you see the big tail of the plane coming at him.
Right.
It's all
I
it's
see.
and
Right.
but then at the very end, when he starts floating away, then the camera pulls back up, like way up into the sky as you just see him in that black ocean.
How do you make these decisions, like what to do? Like, you're a little like people like Kubrick who, made a bunch of great movies and none of them are like the other ones. There's no like Scorsese, you would say, well, it's mostly a certain style. Obviously, he's done other movies that aren't mob movies, but he'll always be the first thing in his obituary, master of mob movies,
Right.
But you seem to be all, Back to the Future is not really anything like Castaway.
No,
It's just what you
I've been
strikes
very
your fancy.
fortunate. I've actually I'm too restless, or maybe it's a madness. I don't know what it is, but
It's an artist.
I just didn't want to do
You're
the same
you're
movie
bored,
again.
yeah.
I wouldn't. It would be boring.
Yeah, that's
It
what
would-
I
it-
feel like that's the key to art is
Right.
that the person doesn't want to be bored.
Exactly. I just have no interest in doing. I just would. A teen time travel movie. I just would have absolutely no interest in doing that.
You already did it.
I did it.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
By the
Exactly.
way, it so holds up. And of course, like any movie from the past, there's things in it you absolutely couldn't do today, or they would just jump on you.
Oh yeah.
Biff is a rapist. It's flat out rape, which even if he's the bad guy, they would go nuts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I know. I know.
And it's just like, yeah, the bad guy in town, he rapes. That's just like thing that he rapes.
Yeah.
But people don't approve, but
people don't approve it, and it doesn't really. Well, but you know what the intention is. Obviously, yes.
No, he's
exactly.
in that car.
Oh yeah.
And their feet are in the air. He's plainly raping.
Oh yeah. and both
Yeah.
of them and Tom and Leah are so great doing that scene, and it was yeah, it gets
Oh.
pretty scary.
By the way, we have a sort of weird tangential connection, which you'll never guess this, but were you making the movie in 85?
I know what you're going to say, Gary Goldberg.
You're right.
Now you know how come I know you're going to say that? This is great because I was having dinner with Michael J on Monday night.
Really?
Yeah, he was in town, and I was having dinner with him, and we were talking about, because I think he's thinking of doing a memoir about his life when he was, I mean, literally doing the movie at night and the show during the day, and getting 2 hours of sleep for
So
8
what is
weeks.
my connection to this, do you think?
I was asking him this. I was saying, so what, was Gary was he like concerned about if you were getting enough rest or anything? He was, no, because he was too busy doing another show. He was doing another show with Bill Maher called Sarah.
Correct. Gina Davis was Sarah.
Gina Davis, right.
Alfre Woodard.
Yep.
And Bronson Pinchot. We were 4 lawyers in San Francisco. I was the office prick. And Bronson was gay, and Alfre was black, and Sarah was the lead.
Mm-hmm.
And that's who we were. And that was, Gary Goldberg, the producer, writer. He had Family Ties with Michael J. Fox, which was the hugest hit. So we were thrilled to be on a show with TV's biggest producer.
Right.
And we had a pretty good time slot. It was NBC when they were kind of like the king of the hill.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we followed directly Family Ties, but we were doing fine. I think we were against Dynasty, which was not easy, but come on.
Right.
It's 1985. But I do remember Gary Goldberg talking a lot about how Michael J. Fox he had to, or he did, loan him to you.
Yep.
To do this movie while he was still filming Family Ties.
Yep.
Which is crazy.
It's crazy. And it was crazy.
So he couldn't have been there, until he finished like blocking and whatever the sitcom shit that he was doing, right?
Well, So I think I think the heavy days in the sitcom were always the Thursday and then the taping on the Friday, right? Those were the heavy days. And those were the days where he had to work absolutely the most. There was no wiggle room. But on Monday, I think they kind of wrote him a little lighter in the show, and he didn't have to sit through too many read-throughs and things like that to get a little bit more sleep.
Well, he was so good. I mean, he was such a natural and sitcoms, I did 3 or 4 of them. It's gentleman's work.
Right.
It's not heavy lifting. And if you're smart and a real pro like him, I'm sure he could, Jackie Gleason used to do it with 0 rehearsal. Live.
Right.
He'd have the stand-in do it with the other cast members, and they hadn't even seen him do it. And he memorized it like sitting in the chair, drunk, before the show, like memorized the whole script, and then just went, that's like baller, like I can't even tell you. This episode is brought to you by iRestore, the clinically proven, game-changing hair growth device that's here to help you turn back the clock on hair loss. I love iRestore because I watched it help my friend Bob so much. I changed his name to not give up his hair growth secret. iRestore's FDA-cleared laser and LED system is a scientifically advanced approach to hair restoration that you can use right at home. The iRestore Elite is engineered with 500 lasers and LEDs designed to provide maximum scalp coverage and deliver the energy necessary to revive dormant hair follicles. The iRestore Elite uses low-level light therapy, a treatment that has been clinically proven to stimulate cellular activity within your hair follicles. Does it work on your dick? I'm thinking to myself. In just a few months, you'll start to see noticeable improvements as your hair regains its vitality without the need for painful drugs, procedures, or expensive surgeries. It's the most non-invasive, pain-free, and drug-free way to bring your hair back to life, backed by real science. Whether you're just starting to see that hairline retreating or you never take that hat off, iRestore can change your life. For a limited time only, our listeners get $600 off their order when you use code RANDOM at iRestoreLaser.com. That's $600 off your order at iRestoreLaser.com with promo code RANDOM. Are you ready to get medical-grade red light treatment at home to regrow your hair? For a limited time only, check out their huge Black Friday sale. Our listeners get hundreds of dollars off their iRestore Elite with our exclusive link at iRestoreLaser.com/random. That's hundreds off the iRestore Elite, iRestoreLaser.com/random. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Hair loss is frustrating. You don't have to fight it alone thanks to iRestore. Well, if you know me at all, you know that I care about my health, mainly my heart health. And, well, I mean, everywhere, but yes, that's very big. And getting heart-healthy energy is super important. Super Beets Heart Chews offer a convenient, delicious, plant-based way to support healthy blood pressure and circulation. And because it's natural, there are no stimulants and no jittery feeling. Paired with a healthy lifestyle, the unique antioxidant compound in Super Beets is clinically shown to be nearly 2 times more effective at promoting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone. I always feel great about doing something healthy for myself, and you should too. So much better than waking up going, why did I eat that deep-fried pizza? Finger dipped in ranch dressing? Jesus. Double your potential with Super Beets Heart Chews. Get a free 30-day supply of Super Beets Heart Chews on all bundles and 15% off your first order by going to getsuperbeets.com and using code RANDOM. That's getsuperbeets.com, code RANDOM. Yeah, it really holds up. It's the Calvin Klein joke is one of the all-time classics.
Yep,
That
that's
she
a good
thinks
one.
his name is.
And the line that Michael wrote, and he came up to me and he goes, he gets up and he's like, where are my pants? And the script said over there. Leah says over there, and he says, you know what? She should say they're on my hope chest. And I said, that's great. That's going in the movie right now. I got those great gems from Michael. Just kept doing that. The other thing he taught me so many things about just comedy timing. He would come up to me and say, you know what? I should take 3 steps and say this line. Stuff like that. And I go, okay, that's great. That's better. Let's change the marks. So it was great having someone who just understood I'll call it, I guess, the mechanics of comedy.
It's funny to watch a movie about time travel when you are now 40 years past when the movie was made.
How about that?
So the jokes that are funny in 1985 about when they go back to 1955, if you know everything about the future, who's president in 1985? Ronald Reagan, right. And I'll bet Jerry Lewis is vice president, made sense in 1980. Now looking from 2024, it's funny in a different way. It's like a double time travel.
You know the story of when Reagan watched the movie in the White House?
And?
Well, so we heard this, Bob Gale heard this because his speechwriters who put one of our lines in the State of the Union address that he said that year were big fans of the movie. And they were there on the night that he ran it at the White House. And the story they told was that when that scene came on, where Chris Lloyd says, Ronald Reagan, the actor, Reagan said, stop, back it up. I gotta see it again. They shut the movie down, rewound the reel.
Wow.
And he wanted to watch that part over again. Isn't that wild?
Because they had it reel to reel then.
Well, it was film.
Right.
It was projectors. Yeah. There was no video. Yeah, you had to rewind the movie. Rewind the reel. Yeah.
Something about Canadian comedians, like Michael is a comedian.
Yeah, and Dan Aykroyd.
Matthew Perry.
Right.
There's something about them that they get us. They're part of us, but not completely, you know,
Yeah.
and I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I think, yeah, there's something about being able to look at it with a little bit of distance, maybe.
So what's the new one about?
The new one, the new one is really interesting. The new one is, again, me being on my restlessness. It's called Here, and it's based on a graphic novel by Richard McGuire, and the camera is only positioned in one view of the universe, and the camera never moves, ever. And then, but the universe moves around the camera, or the view, I don't want to say, or the view the audience is seeing, which is obviously a camera recording it. And it goes through many, many centuries. And it's not like a time-lapse movie or anything like that, but at some point, very early on, a house is built and a room is built around the camera, and it's a living room in New Jersey. And across the street is a colonial mansion, which used to be the mansion that Benjamin Franklin's illegitimate son lived in. This is all in the graphic novel, and it's in the movie. And our family now inhabits this room, and we watch their lives through 2 generations. So we see Tom and Robin from 18 to 80 in the movie. How's that
Tom
sound?
and Robin?
Robin Wright.
And Tom
Tom
Hanks
Hanks,
are back together in this.
And they're back together.
Wow.
Yeah. Tom Hanks, Robin Wright, and the other reunion is Eric Roth wrote the script with me. He wrote Forrest Gump.
So why I mean, but you said the camera sees the universe, not.
Well, I say universe. I mean, not, well, whatever. I mean, the world. The world.
What part of the world is it focused on? What are we seeing? We're just seeing this house.
No, you're seeing the Earth before the house is built.
The Earth.
The world.
The
Yeah.
whole Earth.
No, just what you can see. Just like if you were looking. Okay, so if you were looking at that wall, and then your view of that wall never changed, but time changed around you.
But what is the camera trained on that the people who are watching the movie see?
Exactly what's there, whatever is there. So to give you an example, the camera is looking at the mansion, the colonial mansion, before the house is built, right? And the colonial mansion is always in one place after it's built, but the trees around it are now disappeared because they were cut down, and then walls are constructed in frame, and then suddenly a room is constructed, and then a window is there, but you can still see the mansion.
Do the actors age?
Yes.
And you see them age?
Oh, yeah.
And so you de-age them?
Yes.
I hear that technology's gotten better since The Irishman.
Oh, this is in this movie, it's perfect.
So you can make them any age you want.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a union issue? I feel like
no, it is.
I mean,
but it's like makeup. It's I call it digital makeup.
Right, which I would assume would upset the makeup union.
Well,
I mean, whenever things change, somebody usually gets hurt, and then that person is going to cry and moan. Sometimes justifiably, sometimes not. My view is that you can't bitch and moan too much about when things change, because they just are going to. So what the fuck is the use of crying? 20 years ago, Barry Sanders was like the highest paid player in football, or close to it. Mm-hmm. Now, no running back is even in the top 100.
Right, but
why? Because things change. Why did it change and become a passing game? It just did. So why fucking obsess about it? That's just the reality. Music became a producer's industry. They get all the money. Songwriters are dying. They don't get paid anymore. Either making a hit record, you don't get paid because of fucking Spotify. Streaming is basically where serious movies went. People are not going to go to the theater. Look what happened to Megalopolis. I mean, I don't know if it's good or bad, but in the old days, there'd be more curiosity just to see it.
Yeah. Bill, you just stated the premise of my movie.
Everything
changes.
I'm going to pretend I meant to do that, but but it's a great theme. It's a great theme.
That's what fascinated me about it, because it's a meditation on. I hate to use that word because the movie is wildly entertaining, so I don't want it to sound like it's like
right.
But it's about the fact that everything changes, nothing stays the same, and that's and
well, let's hope that some reviewer says wildly entertaining, because then you can put that in the ad, and that always gets to me, because when I watch anything, I want to be wildly entertained.
Well, that's it. So you were talking about Back to the Future, and I was having this, so back in Santa Barbara over the summer, they have an old, beautiful theater called the Granada. And it's having its 100-year anniversary. And they want to remind people that movies are all, back in the 20s and 30s, they used to run movies here. So they did a movie program, but they only wanted to use movies from people who, filmmakers who lived in Santa Barbara. So they ran my movies. And people who I knew who aren't in the movie business, who are, in their 30s and 40s, they came up to me and said, "Oh my God, we took the kids to the Granada and we watched Back to the Future." And they said, "And you know what? People were laughing and people were cheering, and they would burst into applause at certain moments in the movie." And I was sitting there thinking, "Yep, that's why we use. That's what movies. That's what we did that's what the reason we're going to the movies."
There's something about a communal experience that makes it better. Or not always, but it can. It definitely has that. I mean, concerts. I mean, yeah, they're just things that people, there's some sort of like that we get from, oh, I'm among all these other people who feel the same way about this as I do. Maybe it makes you feel not so alone in the world. Church is the same thing. We all think Jesus Christ is God. We all think that. It's just something comforting about that. Mm-hmm. I'm not in that group.
No, I'm not in that group either. And by the way, I love your movie. I do. I love. I love that movie.
I know, because you called me, and I always appreciate it. I'm so glad you reminded me of that. Yes, when Religulous came out in 2008, you tracked me down and called me, and it meant the world to me. I'm a director of your stature.
Well, I just love that you made that movie.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it too.
Yeah, but it's about so much, but it's so entertaining. That's the thing.
It's wildly entertaining.
It's wildly entertaining.
Is. And half the credit goes to Larry Charles, who directed it and did such a great job. Put it together. But I mean, it was a labor of love, even though a labor. I mean, traipsing around the Middle East.
Right. Yeah, of course.
I wouldn't do it again.
Well, but you had to get all that. You had to get all that great stuff. But now, here's the thing, though. I mean, the art form, though, was designed. It was always supposed to be this communal thing, I think, because the idea of seeing. Well, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong.
No, flickers.
No, those
flickers were individual.
It started with those little machines where you watch something. Yeah. So you watched it in isolation. You're completely right.
Right.
So it just everything changes.
But that didn't mean it was better. People then liked it better. Of course, obviously, then we could sit down and watch it. And then in the silent days, wasn't there a guy in the theater playing the piano?
Yeah, during the silent days.
That was the soundtrack.
Right? And then this thing started to happen, I guess, which is
sound.
Sound. And then, of course, people were getting. I just remember the first time that I was emotionally moved in a movie, and that was the moment when I said, "I got to do this."
What was that movie?
It was Bonnie and Clyde.
Bonnie and Clyde, yeah.
Okay, so there's a great scene in there where Gene Hackman was shot in the head. And he's in this field, and he's dying.
I remember, yeah.
And I remember being a kid in, I guess I was a freshman in high school or something. I don't know what thinking, well, I am feeling really bad. I feel so sad for this. And I remember having this clear thought thinking, this is some strange power. I think I gotta figure out, and that's when I started to learn that, oh wait, there's a director, and then there's a writer, and then and it's not just, because I only went to movies to see special effects.
But Bob, you know that the Clyde Barrow gang were not really good people, don't you?
Oh God, of course I do.
Just fucking with
Of
you.
course, I know you are. But I mean, that was the experience of the movie. I mean, absolutely. No, that I
Right.
fell in love with these people because they were just so.
Oh, how could you not?
How
First
could
of
you
all,
not?
Faye Dunaway was so cockerific in that movie.
Absolutely.
I mean, she was super hot when when they're in that diner, and she's in this hot chick in a small town, waiting for someone like him to show up, and she just wants to get out of there so bad, and she's got this curlicue of her hair by her ear that comes down, a little sideburn, a little woman's sideburn. I thought it was kind of sexy, but he goes, change that.
Yeah.
And she immediately puts down her hamburger and wipes off the grease off her hands with a napkin and does something with it. And it was just, I'm sure people will say, well, that's you, Bill Maher. You like to see women dominated. No, it wasn't that.
No,
it was just hot.
It was a great moment.
Hot.
It was a great moment.
And sexy is not politically correct, and it never will be.
No, it won't
They are at loggerheads.
Mm-hmm.
William Hurt throwing that chair through the window in Body Heat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing, but an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making, selling, and buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify, and we use Shopify ourselves at our own merch store. And it's fantastic. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shop in the name, people. Home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/random, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/random to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/random. The marketing gurus from Radioactive Media are back and bringing you another episode of Club Random. Thanks, gurus. Just because the election is over and we've been promised that desks will be made of chocolate and gold will flow in the streets, that may not happen. So as a business owner, you need to kick some ass on your own, and you can do that with Radioactive Media. Why not tap into the power of podcast and radio? My friends at Radioactive Media know the recipe to launch, optimize, and scale performance by building compelling audio campaigns at work. For advertisers who want to reach the right audience, text them. Just text RANDOM to 511-511. Start planning for 2025 now. Go to radioactivemedia.com or text the word RANDOM to 511-511. Discover how audio marketing can surpass your current strategies with new and innovative ways that sound better. Go to radioactivemedia.com or text RANDOM to 511-511. Text RANDOM to 511-511 today. Message and data rates may apply. I just saw this movie. I watched movies that I'd never heard of very often, like scroll through the list to when I'm in the kitchen, making food and things I don't really have to pay attention that closely to, but I like see everything. This one came on, I think the title, I could be wrong, was Be Careful What You Wish For. I'd never heard of it. It's with the Jonas.
Right.
One of the Jonases, Nick, I guess.
Right.
Who's fine.
Yeah.
Again, proving my point I've made many times, acting, not that difficult. Lots of people could do it. Wrestlers, bodybuilders, dogs do it, children do it. I did it. It's just not. I said this to Sidney Pollack once. Yeah, I interviewed him and he was like, you have no idea how right you are. And he proved it because he was a fine actor.
Yeah, I worked with him.
Yeah, on what?
He does he does in Death Becomes Her. He plays the doctor that examines Meryl and realizes she's a zombie. And he is spectacular in it.
Yeah,
I mean, he's
Tootsie.
great. Yeah.
Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah.
He just stepped in the Woody Allen movie,
Yeah.
Husbands and Wives.
Yeah.
You know, and he just looks like he's doing it effortlessly. Like he, as the director for so long, he knows what the deal is. He's like, don't over fucking think this. Just fucking hit your mark and bark. It's not rocket science here.
Yeah.
I mean, it is for some roles.
Yeah.
If you're playing Sophie's Choice, yes, it's a level of acting, but most of it is just a version it's a version of you in a situation.
Right. And knowing, I think the thing that I appreciate the most about the really great actors I've had a chance to work with is they understand the medium. They know how movies are made.
Right.
And that is critical.
Where the camera is.
And when you talk about an actor like Tom Hanks, and he's so generous as an actor because he knows this isn't my scene. I'm here to just say this one line,
right?
And that's what I'm supposed to do here, and completely get it. And it's not like
sometimes you hit a sacrifice fly,
absolutely,
and it brings in the run, and you did your job,
right? Absolutely.
No. I mean, I'm sure a lot of who you choose to work with, especially as you get older and you have the esteem to be able to demand it, is just the life is too short list. Life is too short to work with people who are assholes, who try your patience, who just a lot of lateral motion when we could be moving forward on something because of your issues or whatever. The older you get,
too short.
Right?
Life is too short. I know we all have that. Obviously, I'm not going to mention anybody, but we all have the life is too short list, and it's that way in the whole thing. It's like life is too short to work at this studio. Life is too short to work. It's like life is too short all the way down the line. It's like you get to the point where you just say, no, it's
and yet in that book I gave you, in the chapter on show business, there's a good one about how, the point of it is, if people in Hollywood can work together when they absolutely despise each other, which has happened in a zillion movies, why can't government? Couldn't government be as efficient as the movie Chinatown, where Roman Polanski and Faye Dunaway hated each other so much that she once peed in a bottle and threw it in his face?
Yeah, I heard that story, but no. But you're right, and you're right, and I don't know why that is.
That never happened to Ted Cruz.
Well, maybe the difference is that there's not a finished product. See, one of the things I love about movies is the end. See, I mean.
Well, good ones do.
Yeah, but my process ends, and we're at some point, it's going to be a wrap, and we're all going to go home.
I've said this to many people, perhaps here before. Like, everyone has a great idea for a movie, and some of them are. Very few have the ending. The ending is the key. If you don't stick the landing, don't start down the road. And it looks like so many people, my mother used to say it, like how was that movie? She's like, yeah, it was okay, but he didn't know how to get out of it.
Yeah. Well, it's
true. You have to know how to get out of it.
Well, 100% right. That's my mantra whenever I'm working with writers and kicking around ideas and things. It's like, well, I'll say to writers that I'm working with, I said, I can't start writing this until I know what the ending is. I don't even know if I don't know where the ending is.
And the tone.
Well, the tone is a critical thing.
Yeah.
The tone is
but you have to decide.
Secret sauce.
But you also see people who never really made a decision about the tone because it's more than one tone. Where it's the tone of Back to the Future is one level. It's very different from, like I said, Castaway or even Forrest Gump. I mean, there's a different tone. Like, are we taking this super seriously? No, we're not taking a DeLorean that time travels seriously. It's like, it's one of the, they used to say in comedy, buy the premise, buy the bit.
Absolutely.
And it's okay. You know, we're on here for the ride. We're not gonna, anyone who picks it apart, like picks the sides apart, it's like, you're just an asshole. Okay, no one really thinks this could happen. We bought the premise. No, you bought your ticket, go on the ride.
Right.
You know, it's a roller coaster. No, it's not real. If it was, you'd die.
And I guess that's one of the hard things about doing what I love. Audiences seem to have a hard time with black comedy. And I mean dark comedy.
Oh.
No, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Not, you know what I mean?
You're canceled. I don't even know what you meant, but you're still...
I meant dark comedy.
No, you know what? We don't have to apologize for saying something that other people who are ignorant don't know what that means. It has nothing to do with race. Black comedy...
No, great black comedy is great. But
the social justice warriors out there. Black comedy means, like Apocalypse Now is a black comedy.
Dr. Strangelove.
Yes, but it's about a subject that is very dark and very serious, but we're still doing comedy about it.
Right. But it's always been a difficult tonal thing I found, because I made a few movies that Death Becomes Her, by the way, which is in a wonderfully is having it's caught up to its time in an interesting way, where the tone, that comedy tone with a dark theme like that is just hard. It's hard for audiences to really tap in, connect with American audiences.
It's probably having a resurgence because there is a starvation for it now, because they don't make those anymore, because they don't trust the audience enough. Partly because the audience is dumber, probably, but there's still a sizable number of people that keep proving it. Look at Oppenheimer. I mean, would you ever think a movie like that would have pulled in that kind of money at the box office? I wouldn't.
No, I didn't.
It's very encouraging.
It is. It really is.
That it's very encouraging that the people are out there, and if you just service them, but.
There's a whole shift going on now.
How did Fabelmans do?
What's that?
The Fabelmans. How did that do?
I don't think it was as successful as you would expect it.
But for him, not as successful is still Lincoln was
Lincoln was more successful.
Very successful.
Right.
It's another one like Oppenheimer. Like, if you really give it to them and make it wildly entertaining, they will eat the dog food.
Right. I completely agree. I think we're in this strange world now of we'll see. I mean, I made this movie which flies in the face of everything that's going on. I mean, it's completely original, both in its style and its premise. And it's not a pre-sold title. It's not a sequel.
When is it out?
November 1st.
Well, I want to see it, not just because it's your name on it, and there's a lot of credibility there, but I'm just so curious now the way you describe it. It's like it kind of has to be seen.
Well, it has to be seen, and it's going to be
because I can't.
Well, and it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult even after you see the movie. It's going to be difficult to describe what the actual story is, but that can be okay. That can be okay. What's interesting about Back to the Future? This is from back in the day. You remember Blockbuster? Of course you did.
I lived across the street in West Hollywood.
They never knew what shelf to put Back to the Future on.
Really?
Yeah, they didn't know if it was science fiction shelf, should be a comedy shelf.
Right.
Is it an adventure shelf?
Right.
They didn't know where to put Back to the Future.
It's a comedy.
Isn't that interesting? It is.
It's a comedy, but it uses as its fodder futuristic stuff. But again, it's not really in that category. Again, because we don't really take seriously, the science in it. Whereas in Contact, that is taken seriously. That's the whole point of it, is that it's serious. It's not that hard to stock the shelves at Blockbuster.
Well, and I got my greatest compliment from Carl Sagan. When I was working he said, Back to the Future is the best time travel best time travel, I guess he said, scientific theory that I've ever seen in a movie.
Mm.
And I didn't tell him. Well, I
Well,
took it from H.G. Wells.
I-
But yeah, right. But that's
I feel
where
like if I was putting together a little film festival and Back to the Future was one night, I would feel like a great couple of companion movies would be Groundhog Day,
Mhm.
which is also
Yep.
great and also fucks with time.
Right.
And did you ever see Pleasantville?
Yeah. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire and
Mhm.
Reese Witherspoon and yeah.
But
That's
it'd be a
it.
good. Yeah. Well, that'd be a good like little movie retrospective thing to do.
I was just on. I was very proud to be on TCM. You know
Yeah, I know, but yeah,
Wasn't that it? TCM.
I think so.
Oh Jesus.
TCM.
Yeah, I'm.
Oh
this-
wait,
the channel
movie
that shows
channel,
the
movie
movies.
channel.
Yeah,
MCM,
it's
the
part of
movie channel.
Time
Yeah,
Warner.
right.
And they do these little interviews before the show. Maureen Dowd just did 3 days of The Condor. I watched that.
That's a great movie.
That's a great movie, and she did a great interview about it. And I did Reds with Ben Mankiewicz,
Fantastic.
who sat here,
Yeah.
and that's one of my all-time.
Yeah, I really like that
favorites.
movie. Yeah, that's good.
I was able to recite word for word Jack Nicholson's scene, and I thought they would use it, and they didn't. Where he goes to Diane Keaton, and because she was this, feminist from 1920, and he's like, Jack leaves you alone a lot, doesn't he? It must hurt. Remember that?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she's like,
yeah.
he's got his things and I've got mine.
Right.
And he goes,
exactly.
what are they? What are what? These things of yours. What are they? And then you go, well, he has my work, and I do my work, and I do my thing. And he's like, are you making this up as you go along? And I did the whole thing, but then I didn't use it.
Yeah, it's,
But it was still really good, and it is a great movie. And who's your, like, when you want advice from your peers, do you like show them stuff? I know some directors do that. They will show it. Like, who's your kitchen cabinet that you like, say, am I on the right track here, or not? Don't you care?
Yeah, I have my, I have Bob Gale, who wrote Back to the Future with me, and he's my long, and he'll tell me. I mean, he doesn't blow any smoke. I mean, he'll say, oh, that is, yeah, you're in trouble with this movie. Yeah. So yeah, and and then Alan, my composer, he's generally when we do a rough cut, when I do a rough cut, my editor, and it's not really a rough cut because I don't believe in rough cuts where I make the movie 5 hours long or so. I never do anything like that.
Good.
I can't stand watching it, so I always cut it down to where I do the best that I can, and that's what I call my rough cut, my very first cut. And I always bring Alan in, and I can just tell from his vibe what scenes are working, what scenes aren't, and it's just him and my editor. They're the ones that I'll feel first.
But no other like directors feel. I know you're close with Spielberg, aren't you?
Yeah, no, I haven't brought Steven in. I haven't brought Steven in a rough cut, in the rough cut thing. Not for any reason other than it's never been something where I think I've ever said, I really need somebody to tell me what to do here. Like if I was in any trouble, it's kind of like, it's sort of like when the movie is finished or in the finished stage, it'll be like, okay, is this working? And if there's anything you can suggest to do that I can help, that can help it.
One of the greatest character builders, i.e. things that suck, is struggling with money. Sheesh. No one wants to think about debt, but the cold, hard truth of it is many people will get deeper in debt during the holidays because they buy stupid shit. Last year, half of American consumers took on debt to pay for the holidays. That is stupid. This year, it could be you. It's never too early to start planning to get out, and the people at PDS Debt can help with a personalized solution just for you. If you're making payments every month on your debt and your balances aren't going down, PDS has solutions for you. Everyone with $10,000 or more in eligible debt qualifies, and there is no minimum credit score required. Bad and fair credit accepted. Save more while paying off your debt in a fraction of the time. Debt sucks. I remember. I do. So start planning today. Get a free debt analysis right now at pdsdebt.com/random. It only takes 30 seconds. That's pdsdebt.com/random. pdsdebt.com/random. I just remembered what I was talking about.
What?
The Jonas Brothers movie. The Jonas Brother movie. If it's not a direct remake, I guess it's just a ripoff like they do it. Double Indemnity.
Mm-hmm.
You remember from...
Yeah, I remember Double Indemnity. What movie is the Jonas Brothers movie? Which one are you talking
I'm telling you.
Okay.
It's also Body Heat.
Okay.
And now they've redone it again. Either I guess they just take the plot and it's fine.
Right.
And the plot is great. When Fred MacMurray did it with,
Mhm.
who was that? With Barbara Stanwyck
Yeah.
But it's a hot chick
Mhm.
who's unhappily married, usually to some older guy who's mean to her, and she wants to fucking kill him.
Right.
And she picks as an instrument of her vengeance some young guy.
Right.
And because she's hot, she gets him
Uh,
to either kill the husband
Right.
because she loves him so much and they're going to go away together. And then after he does the deed,
Right.
she's like, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya. And she actually frames him, because that's what she
Perfect
wants.
crime.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's so interesting that they've done that now through all these different generations. That was exactly what Body Heat was.
Yeah.
That was Double Indemnity.
You're right.
And somebody from the new generation saw those movies and went,
did different.
oh,
Yeah. Okay, we can do that.
we can do that.
Right.
And why not? Because there's only so many stories.
Yeah. There aren't. Yeah, somebody said that. I don't remember who said that. Somebody said there's only like 7 stories or something. I remember hearing that back in the day. I forget who said that. But yeah. And then Bob Gale and I always thought that every story, every movie story has always been in an episode of Leave It to Beaver.
Really?
Yeah. Really.
Like what?
Well, just, whatever Beaver's character arc has to be, the lesson that he has to learn, the moral of the story, it's all there. You'll find an episode where it's there, where it's something where his father has to do something, or Gus the fireman has to give him words of wisdom, and you'll find these little gems in there that are always sort of like premises that you'll find in most movie stories.
I think that's actually more apropos for Andy Griffith's show.
And that too, probably, yeah.
That was more, maybe I don't remember Beaver too well, but I do remember Andy Griffith when I was homesick as a kid, and the reruns would be on, and there was always like a good lesson there. Like one time Opie killed a bird with a slingshot, and the baby birds were crying, and Opie said, "Can you do something about that?" And Andy was like, "No, I'm going to let you listen to them cry for their mother,
Right.
so you know what you did." And
Mm-hmm.
we could use a little more of that today.
Exactly. And there was one episode where in the Beaver, where the Beaver got swindled by sending in a coupon from a box of cereal or something, and had to learn the lesson of understanding false advertising, all this great stuff.
It blows my mind, the difference in life, just life in America. I don't know about other countries. I only lived in this one. Just from when I was alive, which is, I was not really aware of life, but mid-50s. I was born in 1956. You were born in the 50s.
Yep.
That's where you go back to in Back to the Future, 1955. Okay.
Right.
So that world, now from 1985, when you go back 30 years, it was recognizable but weird. But from 2024, kids today, that's like the Civil War era to them.
Right.
Or if they even knew what that is, or the Revolutionary, or caveman times. It's just like, it's alien.
Yeah.
And yet we spam the whole time.
Right. I have a theory about why World War II movies have such longevity, because it was a time when, well, obviously the whole world was at war, and we knew who the good guys were and the bad guys were, and there was this incredible conflict going on. But the world was familiar. In other words, it wasn't like the Civil War or the Revolutionary War. The world was familiar. You had telephones, you had cars, you had newspapers, you had movies, radios. So there was enough that was still going on where the modern audience can relate to the life that the people were in, and they could then say, oh yeah, and they're in this tremendous conflict. I think that's why there's so many of them keep getting made, and why it's so powerful. That's my own theory.
It's also because Nazi uniforms were sharp.
Oh, but the whole Nazi thing was so diabolical. It was so fantastic.
Well, of course,
dramatic.
Of course, that's true too. But the uniforms,
they were
just awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, the cut. I mean, am I wrong?
No.
Can we have nuance in life? I mean, they were diabolic and evil, but yeah, the wardrobe was fantastic, especially like the generals. I mean, those full-length leather coats, the lapels, and then the generals had the red stripe on the leg. I mean, it was all just very well thought out. Hugo Boss, I believe.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I think I've heard that, but I don't know if it was him or his company or what the real.
Well, there was.
I don't know what the real truth about that is. I've heard that though.
Well, a number of companies that we still have today started out supplying the Mitsubishi. I believe in Japan, made a few planes that flew into the decks of aircraft carriers. Certainly the Volkswagen.
Yep.
And
Bayer Chemical.
What Bayer Chemical? What's that?
Well, the Bayer Chemical company.
Bayer.
What did I say? Bayer.
Well,
Bayer Chemical. They built
Bayer aspirin. Yes.
They built the
right.
The Bergen-Belsen.
They probably also.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing here, so don't sue me, Nazis. I'm just guessing, but they may have made the speed that they gave to the German troops.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's a book about that.
Oh yeah.
That would be a great movie. Not that I need to give you any ideas, but there's a book. You could take the book and make the book into a movie, and it's about how the Wehrmacht the soldiers were given speed to go into battle, and how did they get to Paris in 3 days? That's how.
Exactly.
It was like Paris. They would have been in the Atlantic Ocean if they didn't stop them. They just jacked them up, and you could do an interesting thing through history, because we gave our officers, like before there was a push, coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we gave them speed, but the Nazis were efficient like that. There are certainly tribes and more primitive peoples who would chew on certain plants that would give them cocaine, the coca plant, or in Africa, something called gat. I think it's Khat.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like their cocaine that you just chew on it.
I
Germans
don't know.
on speed.
I don't want to get in any trouble, but I think maybe we gave our guys, certainly maybe some of our bomber crew,
maybe
some amphetamines.
Yeah,
doing those bombing.
Yeah,
runs.
maybe.
Yeah, right.
Right. There was amphetamines back then.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, certainly the Beatles took them in Hamburg.
Right. Well, I allude to that in a scene I did in Allied, where you said, you were saying, take this before the mission, that after the mission. So I don't know if it was true or not.
Did you watch that series on? I think it was on Apple. I think it was Hanks.
Yeah, the one about the Masters of the Sky.
Masters of the Sky.
I thought it was. You know what I loved about that?
So great.
I loved there were so many little moments. So I loved all the little minutia they put in there, like the little things like just when they're coming back from the mission, they're standing there with a tray of whiskey for everybody. I just thought that was like great.
I mean, they did Band of Brothers also.
Mm-hmm.
Same tone. I mean, it's just like nobody does World War II like Spielberg.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of his greatest movies is Saving Private Ryan.
My favorite movie of all time, and that's partly because it's personal, because I mean, the guy who plays Ryan, the movie opens with him as an older man, was exactly my father, who was in World War II, practically in that campaign.
Right.
So when I saw it in the theater, I mean, to say I was like a puddle was,
Sure.
you know,
Sure.
it was only about 4 years after my father died. And it was like, you know, I've never had that experience in a movie theater but, you know, Spielberg put him in like the exact sort of shirt my father would have worn in 1990, whatever, when that movie was, you know, it goes back in time and then we see him as a kid. But, you know, that generation just is, I'm sure the kids are tired of hearing that they're the greatest generation, but they kind of were.
Yeah.
I mean, fighting what Hitler and Tojo represented and how close they were to achieving it was not something people today can relate to. We're just not in that kind of dire situation where, yeah, they could have won.
Right.
For a while, they looked like they were winning.
Yeah.
I mean, we were on the ropes.
There were some close calls. You read the history of that thing. There were some.
Well, if Hitler hadn't been nuts, they would have done it, because like there's no people in the world as efficient as the Germans. And when you put efficiency in league with evil, it's not a good combination.
No.
They were very efficient at everything they did, but the guy at the top, this is their Achilles, the guy at the top was insane.
Yeah.
So he thought he was invincible. If he had just not turned against Russia,
Yeah.
I mean, they took Europe and North Africa all in a year. And
if he had invaded England instead of go to Moscow, it would have been game
instead
over.
of trying to do both at the same time,
Right.
which was never going to work.
Right. Yeah.
We dodged the bullet.
Yeah.
With that one.
Yeah.
But it could have, you know, but we were not really ready to fight a war. I mean, for 4 years, this country made no cars.
I know.
They just shut down the car factories and said, no, you're making planes and tanks now. And nobody said boo. I mean, that is just a different fucking universe.
Yeah, and everybody did do their bit. Everybody just said, okay, we got to go. Everybody, we got to do this. It really.
I mean, that's the spirit that Hanks and Spielberg are always after in those World War II things, and that they do capture.
Yeah, that great scene in Private Ryan where Hanks goes, "What's the pool on me now?
Yeah.
What's the pool on me now?"
Yeah.
So I'm a school teacher. All these guys just dropped their, you know.
And the fact that he saved it for that moment.
Yeah.
When he needed something to diffuse. Yeah. I also loved in that movie, I mean, there was many firsts that they did, like the first beach scene, showing the true carnage of war looks like.
Oh, yeah.
That had not happened before.
Oh, that was, or just the camera going up and down out of the water.
Also, until then, like everything I'd ever seen about World War II, I was a huge combat fan. Remember the
Oh God, I've seen every episode.
Me too. Yeah. Love them all.
Right.
But all the movies, all the TV shows kind of presented it like, war's hell, but the thing you can count on is that when the superior officer says something, the other guys just do it. And Private Ryan, it's not quite like that.
No.
It's not like that in the field. It's a lot of, Captain, we shouldn't do this. It's like, that's not how combat did it. It was like, whatever Sergeant Saunders said, they just did.
Exactly.
And of course, under the heat of battle and, you know, and when they let the German guy go, which they didn't agree with, and then he comes back to kill I mean, it's just, it's the great, I always say Saving Private Ryan is simply the greatest combat episode ever.
It is.
It's a combat episode.
That was,
it's just
that was what it was. It was every great moment in combat was in that movie. It's just fantastic. Yeah, it's really, really good.
It's funny when the Cold War ended, you know, we had World War II as the great enemies. There was all the great World War II movies. And then we had the Russians. And then like in the 90s, people were just lost for an enemy. you know, like James Bond was fighting drug dealers. It's like, it just doesn't, come
Yeah,
on.
we didn't have any, but
James Bond
That's
doesn't
right.
fight drug dealers. James Bond isn't the DA. Why don't you get him a
Exactly.
fucking jacket with the letters on it?
yeah, I know.
He fights crime in a tuxedo and fucks 3 hot chicks every movie.
Right,
That's who, by the way, in the last one, he dies.
right.
Talk about a generational change. James Bond dies?
Mm-hmm.
What? No, James
Yeah.
Bond wins.
Yeah. In Back to the Future, we got a lot of pushback when we made the villains the Libyan terrorists.
Oh, right.
You know,
In a
because
van.
in a van, you know, with a rocket launcher.
Yes. A grenade launcher. Right.
Yeah, a grenade launcher. But we, you know, and we would get these notes from the studio and say, "It can't be, can it be the mob?" I said, "Why would the mob want plutonium? You know, it makes no sense. It's got to be a terrorist organization who wants to build a bomb." You know, so
Yeah.
there you go.
And of course, that's almost 20 years before 9/11. So terrorists.
No, it's longer than that. It was way long. It was
85 to 2001. That's not 20 years. That's 16
Oh
years.
yeah. Oh, that's 16. It's 16 years. You're right. You're right.
So, but I mean, terrorism certainly was something people were aware of, but it just moved to that completely different level.
Right,
It was like
right.
something you put in a movie.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
like, we're not really afraid of Libyans with rocket launchers. So we could put this in the movie. And
Right.
I mean, at a certain point, they did start to bitch and moan. When I say they, I mean the usual suspects who were looking for something to bitch about.
Right.
Whenever the terrorist was of any sort of Islam or Arab, it's like, okay, but like, you know, then who did do 9/11? You know, we're not saying all Arabs or Muslims are terrorists. We're saying when that kind of shit happens, it has often been Iranians or Saudi Arabians. There is just a battle going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, don't get me started on the kids today and their protests.
Oh no. Well, listen, I agree with you. Yeah, I say anyone says, "What do you think about any subject, Bob?" I say, "Well, you know, just watch Bill Maher."
Oh, thank you. That is the right thing to say.
I
but
agree
thank
with him
you.
I agree with him on all subjects, you know, but you're 100% right about that. Exactly.
What is your ethnicity? What is your background?
Okay.
You're not some sort of a Jew, are you?
Okay. No, this is, no.
Oh,
My name is Lithuanian.
okay, comrade.
Okay. No, my father's first generation Lithuanian. My mother was born in Italy.
Oh, wow.
And the only time you're going to get an Italian Lithuanian combo is going to be in Chicago.
Right.
And
Sure.
I grew up on the far side, south side of Chicago.
Oh, it's great you don't have the accent.
I don't think I have too much of one.
You don't, because I always don't like it.
You mean
I don't like
didn't-
that Chicago
You mean I
accent.
didn't say he's up on the roof?
Roof is something. No,
he's
no,
up on the roof.
No, it's more Da Bears, you know,
Or
that
Da
kind
Bears,
of. I
or-
mean, they just
yeah.
a certain. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Chicago
no, it's
people.
true. It's
There's
true.
a certain accent that I just find grating. It's, you know,
Yeah.
but I find
He's on a motorcycle.
I can't understand a Guy Ritchie movie without subtitles. I'm like, speak English, you fucks. Speak American,
Right.
for Christ's sake. I don't know what you're
Exactly.
talking about.
Exactly. So yeah, no. So I grew up in and you know had that's why I love religion so much, because I got to like be go through the Catholic school thing.
Oh, I was raised Catholic also.
Oh yeah.
And what was your experience? Loved it, I bet.
Oh,
Isn't it a joy?
I always think about I think that when I think about why do I have an image of death in every single movie I make, it's because that's what 8 years of Catholic school will do to you. You know,
Come for the fear,
come for the fear,
stay for the shitting in your pants. I mean,
exactly. No, it was it was scarring. We'll put it that-
scarring is the exact word.
Yeah.
Not that I've been scarred for life, but I bet you I've been changed for life. I mean,
yeah.
How can you not when we're talking about something at such a formative age, an age where you are defenseless because you don't know anything. So you're just at the mercy of any sort of authority figure who tells you anything. So if they are scaring the shit out of you and filling your head with bullshit
Right.
ideas, that can't help but be scarring. I mean, sometimes people have accused me because I made Religulous and made a career of making fun of religion all the time. You know, are you bitter? I'm like, yeah.
well,
I'm very bitter.
yeah,
So what?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Aren't you bitter about certain things?
Well, yeah. I mean,
If someone raped your mind when you were a child, wouldn't you be bitter about it? I was mind raped.
Well, I think it was it was the fear and the shame, the indoctrination of the fear and the shame, which
Yeah.
is which I think is the I don't know. I guess it's the
Were you still a Catholic in your mind when you started masturbating?
Oh God, no. Well, I don't think I'm not sure when I was ever. I never was. I don't think I was ever really. No, I didn't have any. I didn't have any hangups like that. Thank God. But it was just the you know, that under like low grade headache thing of you're unworthy because you exist. You know, the shame that you know, there's nothing worse that you can do to someone than shame them, especially a kid. And that's the number one controlling thing of that cult, in my opinion, is you're a sinner because you exist.
And you felt shamed because of specific sins you thought you were committing that you then were announcing in confession? Did you
No, it's just a feeling of not being just thinking that you're always you're not measuring up. You're always falling short. You know, you're always you're always not
pleasing God.
pleasing God, or you're just you're not
it's
measuring up. You're not getting across the finish line.
It's so psychotic, religion, to like purposely create this being who you are always going to disappoint. Aren't you disappointing enough people in your real life? I mean, you've got your wife, you've got your family, you've got your kids. I mean, you're disappointing all of them all the time. Is there a need to create this one more person who you're constantly, oh, I'm so sorry, God, I fucked up again.
Oh, yeah.
Please forgive me. You're the greatest. You're all merciful. Thank God, because I'm such a shithead. And it's like, it's all in your head. I mean,
Absolutely.
these things that go on just in your head.
And it's just, you know, it's just completely diabolical, and all the rituals and I actually liked. I think I really was really you know, like the drama of the violence and the scourging of the pillar, and the nailing to the cross and all that stuff. I was kind of digging that, but it's just really. Wow. Endless, blood and death. You
want to team up with Mel Gibson and make a Christy movie. I mean,
yeah. I mean, there you go. I mean, that was
Can't deny him as a filmmaker.
No, he's great. I gave him. I presented him his Academy Award.
Good for you.
I was there on the day when he won.
Was this after he?
No. This was after I won. Back in those days.
Oh, Braveheart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back in those days.
He wasn't controversial then.
No, that, and but no. So yeah.
I think he's awesome.
I mean, Braveheart has got good stuff in it.
Well, like, I just have little patience with the perfect people in the world who, like, has he said some really fucked up things? He has, but and is drinking an excuse? No, because drinking actually makes you more honest. So you can't use that as an excuse like, oh, I was drunk, I didn't know what I was saying. Yeah, exactly. You said but I would love to just talk to him because I just don't think he's a bad guy.
I don't know him personally, but yeah.
Yeah. Right. And I think I think he understands where he went off. And also he's got that super duper, literally more Catholic than the Pope father. Mm-hmm. And we are all sort of like at the mercy of who brung us into the world. That's the theme of The Godfather.
Right. I think I
really didn't want to be in the mafia, but when my father needed me, I had to join.
I had to. I had to. I think I was lucky in that my parents weren't really like fanatical. They weren't. But that thing about, if the nuns were saying you did something and you didn't do it, the nun was right. It was that kind of thing. They held that power over. The parents couldn't believe that the nuns would say something that wasn't, something that obviously they must be telling the truth.
I remember going to confession. They started us going to confession. I remember making my first communion.
Mhm.
That's the one you do at 7.
Right.
And there's another one you do at 13. That's confirmation. I never quite got to that one. But I had the first communion, which was a lot of days after school practicing for whatever practicing. You stood there for a minute while the priest gave you, I don't know, confession. But that's when you started confession. And I had such anxiety because I was like, I'm 7. What fucking sin could I have committed? Yeah, I killed a hooker in Vegas.
Right.
Your Holiness.
Well, I always
Please
remember.
forgive me. So I would to make it up.
I remember the difference between the mortal sin and the venial sin?
Yes, of course.
Okay, the mortal sin and the venial sin. And of course, the venial sin, if you died with a venial sin on your soul, you would go to purgatory and you have to work it off.
Right.
Mortal sin, straight to hell.
Straight to hell.
Straight to hell. No get out of jail, nothing. You go straight to hell. And I remember this and being in this. Must have been the first grade, second grade, talking about stealing money, and how much, hey sister, how much money? What's a venial sin and what's a mortal sin? And then she broke it down. There, anything under $1 is a venial sin, and anything over is a mortal sin.
Adjusted for inflation, of course.
Well, it was like folding money straight to hell. Loose change, you only went to purgatory.
Did you used to put money in the basket when they came around with?
We had a thing. You did on Sunday. I had to go to mass every single morning in the crazy.
Every morning.
Every morning.
Oh, you had it worse than me.
For some reason, in my Irish
killed myself.
Catholic, but we used to do a thing where you had to buy pagan babies.
What?
Yeah. So in other words, you would buy a pagan baby.
Buy.
Yeah. Yes. The money was used to save them, and the missionaries would use the money to go, and you would go buy a pagan baby like in Africa or something, and they would and the point was, instead of buying your candy bar after lunch, you're supposed to put the money in this thing to
talk about colonizers, huh?
Man, and I'll never forget that. Paying to buy some pagan babies so we could convert them.
I don't know what the.
But you know what? It wasn't that long ago. That's what I keep thinking. I keep
saying is what's so amazing is I think it was Bill Gates who once said, if you look back over 2 years in your life, it's like, Jesus, nothing ever changes. But when you look back over 10, it's like it's a whole different world. And it's like in the country too. It's like, how did we get so different from 1985? He's got that vest on in the beginning.
Right.
It's the funny running gag that in 1955 they think he's some sort of sailor, because that's who else would wear that vest that we wore?
Well, in the script it says that he's wearing a life preserver.
Right, life preserver. That's what it looked like to them.
Right.
But here now in 2024, it also looks weird.
But
it's so funny because in that space of time in 1985, it was what people wore. It was not what they wear now or then.
But here's a question I have for you, because I think about this a lot. I'm thinking that I think one of the things that is stagnated is the culture. Something, I don't know if it's because of the internet or social media or the technology just being the most dominant thing, but cars look the same. I mean,
pretty much,
music is the same. If somebody came back, if a kid walked in here from 1994, which is 20 years ago, we wouldn't look twice at him if he came through a time warp.
Yeah, it's 30
Why?
years.
Yeah,
It's
30
years ago.
30 years. Excuse my math. Yeah. But we wouldn't look twice at him. And why is that, I wonder? I don't know. It's like, because
Well, I mean, there were things they were doing in 1994. Some of them they brought back, like those really ugly mom jeans.
right.
Everything bad comes back.
Yeah, maybe.
There's
I don't
only
know.
so many things. There were so many ways you can wear clothes.
Right.
But in 1994, yeah, there was a grunge look that I don't think we're doing massively now.
Yeah, if you were, yes, you're right.
The
but if you walk, but if somebody walked in, in here from,
well, you're definitely right that
Blackboard Jungle. If somebody walked in from the Blackboard,
Right.
You'd go, I know where you're from.
Right, very different. You are from
right.
the past.
Right.
No, it's true. And music, rap certainly was a completely different music form that is obviously preeminent now. But
But that was 25, 30 years ago.
50 years ago.
Rap.
50.
50.
Yeah, rap celebrated its
wow.
50th anniversary. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, 1979. Was the first rap hit. Cypress Hill, I think, or
maybe, yeah.
Sugar Hill Gang,
Right.
I think. Yeah, it's been definitely was around in the 80s. It grew and got better. Just like I always say, 80s rap is very much like 50s rock and roll. I don't like either. Like it needed a decade to grow up.
Right.
But the music I listened to as a kid in the late 60s, if you go back 25 years, was so different from what my father was listening to in the 40s, which is not the case with 1969 plus 25 years or 50 years, except for rap, which is big.
Right.
But like all other kinds of pop music, and there are songs that are put out now that could have been hits in 1969 or 79 or 89. Whereas the sound my father listened to, the big band sound, that was completely different.
Completely different. And I didn't have anything to do with that. When I was a kid, I didn't listen to that.
Oh no.
I learned to appreciate that when I got older. And my father, and my uncle, they hated it.
I still don't appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's just not my kind of, Benny Goodman, I'm sure was great, and Glenn Miller,
some good,
but I would never listen to it. I know what it sounds like.
Exactly.
Maybe, Bette Midler did Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy of Company B, which was a World War II song, and she updated it great, and it made made like a pop rock sound. But basically, it's just first of all, it's very clarinet driven. Okay, well, that's not to me as good as electric guitars. That's just me.
Yeah,
but that's what I grew up with. We're all products of what they put in our heads when we're helpless. But that's religion.
My younger kids who are in their early 20s now, they listen to my stuff.
Being what's your
well they love the rock, and I don't. It's not because of anything with me. I'll be in the car with them.
That's because it's good.
Exactly, and I'll say, "Why are you listening to that? Why are you listening to that Led Zeppelin? Like, how did you find that?" And they go, "Oh, I just
yeah, because they have not improved upon it.
Exactly.
They've done other great stuff. There's great artists now, but they haven't quite improved on that and that particular sound. And yeah, but there are songs that come out now that I think, oh, that could be a hit in any decade. Those are my kind of songs, and I'm certainly not a music snob. I'm the opposite. Like, I just want to be entertained. I have no music ability, so I have no dog in this fight except entertain me. I don't care about important music.
Yep.
What a great way to have a shitty record collection.
Yeah.
Let me get the most important songs.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
I'm just
and when when the Beatles arrived, it was like,
how old were you in 64?
Well, it's like I was 64. I was 12, 13, something like that, I think. Yeah.
Year were you born?
Wait, 51. So what was I?
So you were 13.
13, yeah. And it was like life-changing.
13 is like the exact age you'd want to be when the Beatles arrived. I was 8, so
yeah.
I was not really into music yet, and I just knew there was a hubbub going on.
No, when the Beatles showed up, it was like, you know, and then, you know, when the Beatles showed up, it was like, you know, okay, wait a minute, you know, it kind of like, you know, gave you that feeling that it did for me anyway, that, you know, maybe I could do something. You know?
No, and I'm sure the kids, if anyone listening to this, are like, okay, Boomer, the Beatles.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
and it's like what we said about some shit our parents were talking about, like certain things you had to be there.
Yeah.
And if you weren't, it just sounds like two old farts
Right.
who are like getting all gaga about something that probably wasn't that great.
Right.
But it was. But it wasn't, you know, completely unique in history either.
Right.
I mean, there have been other pop phenomenons. I mean, Taylor Swift, obviously now,
Yep.
is on a level that we rarely see in show business. I had Nikki Glazer here.
I listened to that. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
And I'll listen to it, and
So
then I'm going to take her advice and listen to the Taylor Swift album that she recommended.
Well, she recommended the movie.
I'm going to see that, the one on Disney Plus.
Okay, I'm halfway through it,
and
I must report,
yes,
my opinion has not changed.
Okay,
I gave it a shot, though.
Okay.
I mean, I don't, and as I always say, when Taylor Swift comes up, I have the greatest admiration simply for success. I also have great admiration for the way she conducts herself. You know, she never misses a show. She's not late. She's a class act.
right.
But I don't get the music. I really don't. I mean, Nikki was here and saying that. I said, what is the key? And she's like, well, the music is just the amazing musicianship and the lyrics. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm gonna give this a shot. Now, maybe the second half of the show will blow me away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's 3 hours long. I don't watch anything, hardly anything, in full increments. I watch things like I read a book. I don't read the whole book at once, and especially something like this. But halfway through, but again, I mean, I'm looking into the audience, and it's 20-year-old women.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost a 70-year-old man. I mean, that is just apparently a bridge too far for this particular phenomenon. Other things we do share, but I just and they are certainly into it. And it also says maybe this is a great indication of the span of time and how much things change. I mean, Ray Kurzweil talks about the singularity. That's his great book about when we will meld almost fully with machines. We're certainly halfway there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are people who have artificial lots of stuff. And,
right.
Elon Musk is working on people who can move things with their mind when they don't have the use of their arms and stuff like that. But to see everyone in the audience not watching the concert, but watching through the phone. They're watching their phone, not the thing that they are purposely putting a filter between something that they know must be filmed and they could see somewhere other than their own phone. That, to me, is a difference of kind, not just a difference of degree, a difference of kind that my generation would never want to do, to purposely put this filter, and they're all doing it throughout the show. You see, whenever they cut to the audience, it's all phone.
But are they doing that so they can like zoom in, or are they recording it so they can keep it?
I think both, but I think a lot of it is recording it.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense. First of all, you have a mind. You can remember it, and sometimes that's better. And she's recording it. You can always see it. It's like, you ever see people at where the Mona Lisa is? I mean, they're all taking pictures of the Mona Lisa. It's in the gift shop. You could get
a beautiful 8x10 of it. Yeah, right.
Version.
Exactly. Could hang it on your wall. Exactly. No, I know. No, it's
odd.
But isn't it about that thing that everyone just has in their hand now that they can just? Isn't that just like this thing where everything we have to take pictures of everything I eat? I mean, people taking pictures of their food. I mean, oh, look at this presentation. I gotta.
Yeah, they actually stopped doing that more than they used to. But the point of and Nikki was saying it when she was here, like. She sometimes feels if some event in her life has passed without her recording it, that she missed an opportunity, which is a mindset I can't even get into. Mm-hmm. I mean, I understand it. Mm-hmm. And I think the people who are even younger than her, because she's, late 30s, the kids who are like, 18 or 15, They don't even have this quandary. They know you always record it.
I remember, I think Bill Gates did an experiment once where he had somebody walk around with it wasn't I'll use iPhone but it wasn't invented yet, but like a device that every minute took a picture. So so wherever this guy went his whole life, so his whole memory was put in was kept. And the reason, the theory behind that is so we can use our brain for other things. So we don't have to have wasted mental space for our memories, because we can always go back into this database and see, where was I on this day? Let me just scroll over here and then
that is what we're moving toward.
It is, isn't it? Kind of.
Well, the cloud
is
kind of that.
Yeah.
I don't want to be divorced from my brain.
But I mean, but it is interesting when I've got one of those digital photo things on my desk loaded with all the digital pictures from all my kids and everything.
Right.
And something will pop up and you go, oh, I remember that. Oh, it's kind of like a thing scrolling by, but I wouldn't have just remembered it.
But I mean, I assume as AI becomes more prevalent and everyone has it on their phone and everyone uses it more for more things, I assume it will slowly be doing this, just taking over different parts of our brain. I mean, isn't that what AI is ultimately, is a colonizer of our brain?
Probably. I think it is.
And we're inviting it in, and we're not really interested in putting the brakes on, because now it's a race not only between different countries like us and China to have the upper hand, but also between companies to make the most money.
Of course.
I mean, you see even the people who started out as, we don't want to be in the profit business with this. Wait, what did I say? What I meant was we want to be in the profit business. I mean, come on, this is America. We make profits. So, yeah.
I kind of agree with you, but isn't all technology a trade-off ultimately?
Totally, absolutely.
And isn't it always feared when it first shows up?
Yes,
always.
That it is feared. That doesn't mean this time couldn't be the one.
It could be the one, but this is the thing that could cure cancer too.
Exactly. I don't even give a shit if they become our robot overlords, because I mean, the odds are I will certainly be dead within 30 years.
That's true. We got to think about that.
Unless AI
stops that,
comes in and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer's his way into my heart by saving us at the last minute with his glowy nose, because that is definitely possible. I mean, AI in 30 years could keep people alive forever. Now, the next question is, do we want to be alive forever?
Well, there you go. That's the big, that is.
I mean, if I can be alive like I am now, yes.
Yeah, but then, the thing, of course, because I made a movie about that, which was, Death Becomes Her, which is, well, you want to sit around and watch everybody you know die.
Right.
I mean, or maybe, but then if nobody dies, then what? That could be a really interesting movie. I mean, do we want to sit around and have conversations like this for like the next 100 years and never stop?
I could sit around and do this, which is, I mean, it's one reason why I loved starting this podcast. This is what I would be doing anyway, probably on a Wednesday night, taking a little break from my work week, my real job. But now I get to do it with you. Or, Cheech and Chong were here last week. And
really?
Yes.
That's great.
I mean, people come to see me like this.
Course,
it's how could I ask for anything more in life? I mean, to sit here and just be able to, and you haven't had even a drink.
I have some water.
You don't drink?
No, I did back in the day, but I don't drink anymore.
A lot?
Enough that it got to the point where I needed to stop. Yeah.
Like Flight.
Oh, yeah. No, that's
an awesome one.
Really?
That's a great one.
There's a great performance.
Yes, again, John Huston.
Exactly.
But it's also like, is he the best one to do that? Probably. But, it's not like no one else could have done that part. It's a great idea.
No, it's a great idea.
You have to
Beautiful
have
screenplay.
yes, so good.
Yeah.
Who wrote that? You?
No, John Gatins wrote that.
Oh,
John
so
Gatins,
good.
Yeah.
I mean, again, totally stuck the landing.
Mhm.
The great end. I mean, again, you got to have a good ending.
Yeah.
And him at the first of all with the hotel room door and the fucking mini bar. Do you know how many mini bars I've been in?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been on the road my whole life.
Mhm.
Mini bar, that rang true to me. Not that I've ever fished through the whole bar and gotten shit-faced drunk in a hotel room, but
Right.
I get it.
Right.
And then, the switch at the end and flying the plane upside down, and he's just I mean, I said this to somebody who was here recently. He is my all-time favorite, like Denzel. As far as I think, I mean, I like a lot of people, but he just knocks it out of the park every time.
Oh, he shows up with the goods. He
really does.
He really does. I mean, he shows up and he's ready to.
Oh, you
work.
can tell.
Oh yeah. I mean, joy, just absolute joy to work with.
Yeah. He looks like no nonsense, but still.
He's not warm and fuzzy. He's not warm and fuzzy.
Good.
No. And he explains it to the crew.
Yeah.
And he'll sit there and say, "Look, you guys have to understand something."
Either am I.
Well, yeah. He says,
As long
"Look,
as you don't have to be."
He says, "You guys set up the shot."
Right.
And now you want to let your hair down and relax. But
Right.
now I got to come on and I got to do it.
Yes.
So I don't have time to make small talk with you.
Yeah. I mean,
Right?
that's not what makes a good boss. I think I've always been a pretty good boss at my shop. And I'm not the pat everybody on the back and, and learn everyone's name and all the things, that people do.
Right.
Ask about your wife. But I'm also not mean and I don't yell and I don't, I think people appreciate it when the boss just isn't in your life at all.
I think you're right about that. I mean, it's not like you have to know what everybody's personal life is.
You need your little kitchen cabinet.
Yeah.
And then everybody else just do their job, and I'm respectful, but I can't be fucking friends
But I don't have
with
a problem coming in and saying good morning to everybody.
Yeah,
I
of
do.
course
I
not.
do that. Of course not. It's like I don't want to, come in and say, why is that cable over there?
Right.
I don't. Try not to do that.
Right.
But
no, I mean, you hear lots of horror stories about sets, and I mean, there's hardly ever a movie set you hear about where there wasn't some, and I've been on some back in the 80s when I did acting. It wasn't uncommon that there is some blow up. I mean, there's just a lot of tension. You're mixing dangerous chemicals. People are just fucking tense.
And it's a lot of money. And you're always under the clock,
right?
And you're actually doing pretty insane things. I mean, you're always making it rain when it's sunny. You're making it night when it's day. And it's like
and the actors are on this, hairpin because their instrument is having, spilkus going around in their gut. That's what their fuel is.
Right.
So they're on this kind of edge anyway. Right. So one guy who crosses and gets in your eye line when you're trying to concentrate, and it's like, can everybody fucking please,
Right.
That is not uncommon. If people want to be in show business, no, that's going to happen a lot.
Yeah, and it does happen, and you got to be respectful, because they're under a lot of stress and they have to do it. And then, by the way, it's like, now when you walk into a set situation like that, and because even though no one says it, and you're going, I know that they got to get out of here in 30 minutes, and you can just see it in the director's face that, he's going to I can't go over, I can't come back here another day. They're going to fire me. All that stuff that goes on in your brain. And the poor actor's got to step on his mark and just do a great performance. And I got no time. It's a horrible situation to be in, but we do it for whatever reason.
No, I mean, movies, I've always said it, movie stars, people who make movies, directors, all you guys earn, I mean, they're paid a lot and they deserve a lot. It's really grueling. The
hardest time for me is when you're doing a movie this is why I say, this is why they pay me the big bucks, is when you're doing a movie and you hire a really solid actor who's a day player, and he's one of the first people you cast. And then you go off for 6 weeks and you're in with the key cast and you're in a groove and everybody's in a rhythm and everything. And this guy's been working on his scene for 6 weeks all by himself. And it's kind of, okay, come on in and action. And he's in a different movie. He's in a completely different movie.
Right.
And then 100 people turn and look at me, right? They all got, the whole crew, because the crew and everybody goes, this isn't the movie we're making.
It's so interesting.
This isn't the movie we're making. And the guy just was doing his best. He was doing his best, but he wasn't with the
Tone.
And then I've got to go and I've got to then fix it, right? And then you got to okay, and that's where, that's the toughest part. Yeah.
Is there an example of that?
I can't give. There's a few, but I can't. But there's a few. But
sometimes there are actors in movies who are at such different levels that they're almost in two different movies.
Sometimes, yeah.
They're just, and it's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just like two people in a band playing different.
Yeah, and that's really rough. When I don't think I've had that.
Doesn't happen I
don't think I've had that, but you can see it in movies. I can see it in movies and in really good movies, and you sit there and you say,
I think
those are really interesting choices that actresses make.
It's an age thing.
Think so?
I know so. Like actors, just like people, generally get better, smarter, wiser. They've seen the pattern go around before. So actors who are in their 50s, 60s, they're great. Mm-hmm. And when you're in your 20s, they're doing the best they can, but they're just not on that level. Right. Just like you're not in life. I wasn't,
right.
I was an idiot in my 20s. I mean, just as far as maturity level, and it shows. So if there's a guy who's 25 and he's in a scene with a guy who's 60, they're kind of in a different movie.
I would say that's the toughest to work with is the 20-year-old actor.
Of course.
That's the toughest because, they're just 20 years old, and there's a lot of pressure on them. Yeah. There's a lot of, and even when but then again, there was somebody I was working with, Michael J, and he was only 20 and he was just great. And that whole cast I had in that movie, they were all great, but they're the ones that are tough. I have a funny story to tell you. Like when I just remember I was listening to Jack Warden I was fortunate enough to work with him on my second movie, Used Cars. And he gathered all the young actors and he was telling them, he said, I was listening to this, he was dropping on this story. He said, I always thought when I was starting out that the best way to get more screen time is to slow my performance down. Right?
Who said this?
Jack Warden. He said, that's always what. And so I was doing, and then I went to the movie that I was in and I was cut out. I wasn't in it.
Yeah, because you're
so now I just say everything so fast that they can't get the scissors in there.
Buddy.
Isn't that funny? Because that's what you're always saying to the novice actor. Pick it up, take the air out,
Right.
Yeah.
Just get on with it. Just entertain us.
Exactly.
Well, you have entertained me so many times.
And I am a giant fan.
I appreciate that, but you are Hollywood royalty for a reason, and it meant a lot to me that you would come by my crazy little ratskeller.
This has been an absolute joy. Yeah, it's been great.
Well,
yeah.
Don't be a stranger. Keep making movies.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you. It's fun. It's really fun. Like I said, I had never done one of these before, so I've done the bullshit, junket where you just keep getting the same question asked over and over and over again.
Oh, that must be. If you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/random, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/random to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/random.